Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to somebody that does.
Oh, I don't have any audio.
There you go.
There we
Yeah,
go.
that's because Pugsley unplugged my mic. So shout out to Pugsley, my adorable little pug. But I have the honor and privilege of having somebody that does way too many things, makes me feel absolutely lazy. Dani Gregoire. Danny, what's going on?
It's going good. How about you?
Good, good. Glad to have you on. This has kind of been in the works for a bit, you know. So finally, it's like you're there. We're doing this. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's about time. So
It's about
awesome.
time. It's about time. But I mean, you obviously are a, you know, I mean, it's a healthcare professional in terms of uh, uh like is it EMS or EMT?
So
Prof-
currently I'm an EMT basic running on a fire department. So
Great.
EMS calls is my jam.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in addition to that, yeah, do the working thing, and then you also are training to fight. Good lord. Jeez. How do you fit everything all in a week?
I'm super organized, so I have everything scheduled out. I think the thing that tends to kind of fall behind is the sleep. I I, I drink a lot of coffee, so but yeah, no, I fit it in. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, but I love it. And I love everything I do. So
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So, and it's funny because you actually, especially in instances of like great duress and trauma, you take care of people, but then you're also, as your kind of vocation, you punch people in the face and basically, unceremoniously twist them into a pretzel. So I think that's also fun.
yeah, it is. It's actually the fire service that kind of got me into MMA. So that was pretty cool. It's definitely the other side of the coin. A lot of times I see the squad sitting by the side of the cage, and I'm like, oh, they might have some work to do tonight. But yep.
So okay. So what comes first? This is literally a chicken or the egg or whatever vegan alternative for those of you that are, vegan. But what comes first? Does it, the EMT EMS stuff, or is it the MMA stuff?
Honestly, now it's the MMA stuff. And the biggest thing is I think like some of the calls that I've been on, some of the things that I've faced in EMS has made me really realize like, dude, life is so short. And if you find something you're passionate about, like you cannot put that off because you never know when something's going to happen. So if anything, that's kind of pushed me more to be a little bit more obsessed in MMA and like really go for it versus putting it off. So no, MMA is my priority right now, but the EMS and the fire department, that's always going to be a big part of who I am. So
Now, what found you first? Because both of them are very athletically inclined, right? So, did you? I mean, was it your kind of pursuit of that led you to MMA, or did you end up? I mean, were you an athlete in like school, and then you're like, I want to do something that I get to lift and
well,
run and stuff.
I've always been getting into random stuff. So, like athletically, my only sport I ever played was figure skating, which is completely different. I mean, that's a lot of makeup and frilly dresses and stuff like that. I got into that, and I mainly just did it recreationally, but I was a very serious skater for about 8 years. And I still coach figure skating. And
Wow.
ended up getting, I actually, at the time, I remember Googling like MMA places and jiu-jitsu places, but my whole family was like, why would you want to do that? And I was pretty young, so that I just kind of put that on the back burner for a while. I ended up getting really into CrossFit. So I did CrossFit for about 6 hours a day from the age of 16 to 18. Um, yeah. So I was training at the gym like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening. So that got me into like lifting, and just kind of all that, like gymnastics, things like that. That was a ton of fun. So that kind of built my like strength up a little bit more than
Mm-hmm.
figure skating. Figure skaters normally are pretty small. They don't have a lot of physical strength, especially in like your upper body. So that helped a lot. And then ended up, just having some day jobs. I worked in insurance. I currently work as a banker, and just kind of wanted something like a little bit different than what I was doing. And I'd always been interested in being on a fire department. So I finally lived like a mile and a half away from a station and walked on in, and I volunteered. And I remember the first time I walked in, there was just a group of really big, intimidating guys, and I was like, what am I doing here? But yeah, I've been on. June will be my 2-year anniversary on the department, so it's been an awesome experience, and I've learned a lot. It teaches you a lot seeing people on their worst days and just kind of going through some of that stuff. So finally, finally decided to try MMA, and yeah, gave it a shot and fell in love. So yep.
Your kind of vocations and hobbies almost look like my YouTube digest, right? You're a figure skating, CrossFitting, life saving MMA fighter, right? It's random, but it's also cool because again, you get to test and a banker, right? So we're not gonna get a Tito, the equivalent to Tito Chuck 3 in Danny, because she's gonna be like, oh, I've saved my money, I know how this works. I've basically thrown like a wrench in the matrix. Like, I know how to save lives. I know how to look the part, right? As well as be athletic. You basically will lift stuff, right? So
Yep.
any kind of scary happenstance or whatever, you just chuck them over your head and just and pretend it's like a weird burpee, variation or whatever, and then MMA, like all that, and then MMA. That's so
Absolutely,
great.
absolutely.
That's so
You know
great.
what? I'm the most random person you'll ever meet, but it's so cool how like everything ends up building into each other. Actually, the reason why I found the gym I'm at right now, Wolverine MMA, my coworker at the bank is actually a former MMA fighter. And
Whoa.
he trained with, I don't know if you're familiar with Strong Style Gym, which is where Stipe
Yeah.
Miocic trains out of. So
Yes.
he was actually Stipe's training partner back in the early 2000s. And I found this out, and I was like, hey, dude, you got to tell me where to go. Like, what gym should I go to? And he sent me over to Wolverine MMA with Cody Stevens, who also coaches at Strong Style. And
Hmm.
that's kind of the crew that I'm in now. But I'm telling you, it was like a God thing, because it really ended up working out. That I have
That's
to
a
work with some badasses at the bank, too.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. And those are two things that don't necessarily mix: badass and banker. But you guys figured it out.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Which over on Twitch, it said she could probably beat Jake Paul.
Yeah, I
Hopefully,
could.
and have Dana White, tip. Well, it's weird. It's a weird one, right? And I'm saying this, so don't take it out on Danny. But like a gentleman who has yet, outside of like maybe a McGregor or Rousey, given his fighters like $1 million payday, but will drop 1 million to fight in his words, a fake fight between Ben Askren and one of the Paul brothers. So, just saying, Dana, it's weird. It's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird. Yeah. But this is fun because like I actually found jujitsu kind of similarly. One of my coworkers and I was like working at this like tech company as a marketing assistant and whatever, and one of my coworkers, he was doing jujitsu in town, and we'd watch like I was a fan, right? But we'd watch like right around that time it was like Metamoris and those submission only tournaments and just like geek out over it. And he was just like at lunch he would just like take his gi and go, we had hour long lunch, float over,
Coolest
whatever.
coworkers.
Yeah, so that's kind of same. But you're way badass. So, I mean, when you met your coworker, I mean, were you doing the CrossFit and such?
No, so I actually So I stopped CrossFitting in 2016.
Okay.
I had an incident where I was doing toes to bar on a super high bar, and essentially I flipped myself headfirst into weight plates in the middle of a competition. So actually, unfortunately, I had a horrible concussion from CrossFit, and they basically told me that if I had to take a year off. And they told me, they were like, if you hit your head on a car door coming out of your car, you're going to be in therapy for the rest of your life. It was a bad enough concussion. So that wasn't the first injury I got from CrossFit. So while I love CrossFit style workouts, I'm so competitive. I will do things that like my body's like, don't even try, Dani. I'll just go for it. So for myself, for injury prevention, I've kind of taken a step back from actually going to a box. I have a rogue barbell at home and plyo box and rings and all that. So, but I try to tone down the competitiveness a little bit with CrossFit to avoid injuries. But
I mean, more power to you, my sister, because like watch way too many gym fail videos to like karma's gonna come back around. I laugh way too damn hard, be like like really just. I mean, if I'm drinking something, it shoots straight out my nose like a projectile and whatever, for that. So I know karma's got to rear its ugly head, and if I were to attempt such a
gotta
thing,
be careful.
yeah, I'm just saying, So you kind of stopped doing that. And so, I mean, in between the time that you met your coworker and the time that you stopped doing CrossFit, like there's this competitive edge still there. There's in CM Punk's first WWE theme by Killswitch Engage, they go, "The fire still burns," right? So the fire was still burning,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, did you have any outlet for that?
Not really. And I was kind of miserable, honestly. There's a big part of me that's an athlete, and I really didn't do a whole lot. I kind of fell off the workout track, and yeah. So that's why when I found MMA, it was really amazing because yeah, I was definitely missing it a lot. So
Now, did you have any apprehensions like the first day in the gym, especially after sustaining such a? I mean, like, the brain, it's goo in there. I mean,
yeah.
it's a molded piece of goo and that whatever. But like once that shuts off, it doesn't look good, right? You slur speech and everything like that. So having something like that happen in CrossFit, were you apprehensive?
Not really actually. Maybe I should have been, but I'd had a couple other skating falls and stuff where I'd hit myself in the head
Right.
after the concussion and didn't really have any issues. So I basically just let myself rest and I was fine. So I wasn't too worried. I mean, I think the most emotion I felt is I was just really intimidated because I had like no idea what I was in for. So, but
Dang, right on. So, what was that first day in the gym like? Because obviously you did CrossFit, you did figure skating, But I mean, being on the mats, it's something different.
yeah.
It's to me, I always say it's like the truth teller, right? Whether it be boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, MMA, whatever. Like everything is mats. Like you start out on the mats, right? And the mats are the truth teller. You could say you trained this, you did that, you watched this video, you're this strong, blah blah blah. You get on the mats, and it tells you truths.
Oh
What
yeah.
you have and haven't done. If your coach tells you to do road work and you don't, yeah, the mats will tell you. It's a truth serum, right? So I mean, what was it like, especially compared to some of your other adventures?
So Joe, my coworker who was in MMA, he told me to reach out to Cody Stevens. So my first month of training was just one-on-one with Cody,
Oh,
who owns
nice.
the gym. So I think I got a little lucky because I avoided the mats for just a second. So I realized how little I knew. And then I think my first mat session was either August or September. And I remember there was this little girl there, Emma Klein. She's like my favorite training partner now. She was 13 at the time. She looked like she weighed like 90 pounds. And I remember walking in and I was like, oh, there's no way. Like, I'm a bigger girl. This is going to be easy. That girl destroyed me. I couldn't do anything. I was just in a blender for the whole role. So I earned a lot of respect for jujitsu and how effective it is because she still kicks my butt. So
Yeah, and that's the thing, the effectiveness. Like, I remember there was when I first started training, there was actually a gentleman who had like he was burnt, like his limbs amputated, like from the knee and elbow down and what
Wow.
have you. But before his accident, he was this like wrestler, right? High school wrestler and everything like that. And we were both white belts, right? And I have all of my limbs and all that, whatever. He proceeded to throw me around the room like
Yep.
I had never. And
Wrestlers do that. Yep.
yeah, but that's the thing. It's just like it works. It doesn't matter if there's like a size disadvantage, a age disadvantage, a low set. None of that matters. Like technique is everything. Like you can accomplish a lot no matter what. If you've got the right technique employed.
Yeah. No, I think sometimes, especially if you come from like a strength background, it's easy to try to muscle things. And yeah, I definitely learned that pretty quickly. There's a lot of wrestlers in that room, and it even feels different. When you start matching up with somebody who's got a wrestling background, I mean, just the way they grip you and the way they shoot in for shots, it's just, yeah, you gotta be careful. So
It's a different thing. That's why I'm like, oh, white belt, and I was like, no, 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 not,
no.
no. Things aren't built. I mean, things are built differently. That's just like that's. There's no way. That's why like competitions like NAGA, the North American Grappling Association, scary because like you're a white belt and whatever, but then you've got like this person's a black belt in sambo, but they're a white belt in jiu-jitsu, so you can quantify as a white belt and whatever. It's like. It gets all weird. Like Habib, there's like like Naga footage in like the Bay of him just like mauling people, and so it's just like yeah, some things aren't different. I mean, aren't the same. They're completely different.
So I gotta ask you, are you a gi or a no gi person?
Oh, no gi all day. Yes, because
Yes.
I started out. I have one gi, and the year that I started, they released a Elio 100, which is Elio Gracie's like it was a special edition gi coming from the Gracie family, and it has his like patch in the back. Yeah, him all
I think I've seen it.
stoic.
It's pretty.
Yeah, right. So, and then that's it. Once I found out Nogi, and I had to switch gyms, to find that out. But like Nogi was like, damn, this is what it works. But you're Nogi, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you ever
I
train in
do
gi?
gi like once a week, and I hate it so much. I keep threatening to just burn them. Trying to convince my coach to go 10th planet because yeah, I'm no gi all the way. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially if you get Ezekiel by somebody's sleeves. Like, there's nothing more demoralizing than that. Like, you
Or
just
bow and arrow.
yeah. Oh, bow and arrows are the worst. Like you just bent me like back, and it's almost like a pro wrestling move. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it's the same bow and arrow. It's like that and what have you, and like I'm suspended. It's almost like Ringling Brothers. I'm suspended by your sleeves. Like that's what are we doing? Yeah, it's like doesn't matter what I do.
It's the worst.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I mean, did you start off gi or and then transition to no gi or?
No, I started off no gi. So
Oh,
we at our
right.
gym we really basically everything is geared more towards MMA. We're not really a jiu-jitsu gym per se. So we only have one session on Saturdays where we do wear gi. And most of the time, like a couple rolls into the open roll, we all kind of ditch our gis because we don't love doing gi. So yeah, I've been mainly no gi for the whole portion of my training so far. If you want to bring a gi in, you can, but most people don't opt to. So
Yeah. Oh, I used to look at the guys and gals that would go no gi in my first school, and I was just like, uh, you think you're better, like whatever, like, or I would look at them like, like they were like the redheaded stepchild and
yeah,
whatever, like you,
you're
you don't
not
have
pure
respect.
jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Yeah, but then here's the thing, you know, spoiler alert, jiu-jitsu isn't the only grappling that's out there. I mean, I'm wearing a Sakuraba, shirt. That proves to you Sakuraba's whole career proves to you weight classes don't matter, and there are other things like
Yeah.
oh Sakuraba and Josh Barnett, they will tell you They are pro wrestlers first. So, do you tell them pro wrestling's fake? I dare ya. Yeah. So, I mean, you're at. Did you know you wanted to fight when you started in the gym?
No, I did not. I actually really started mainly for self-defense. I had a couple calls on the fire department
Hmm.
that really woke me up to the fact that I should be able to, one, defend myself, and two, just be able to see things coming. I had an instance where I was taking vitals on someone, and I should have been aware enough to notice it, but this guy threw a punch at me, and my captain just grabbed the back of my jacket and yanked me back, and I got a he was like, "You should have seen that coming. You should have seen that punch coming." And I was like, "Well, I've never had anybody throw a punch at me." So, yeah, it was kind of like from a self-defense standpoint, just being more comfortable. Sometimes we're running a squad call and it might be just me and another female, and we've got some belligerent person coming off of an overdose or something like that. And, we have a lot of people that get pretty aggressive with us.
Hmm.
So just kind of having, hopefully I don't have to use it in the back of the squad, but having that physical confidence was why I really got into it. And then, man, I kind of started just dipping into the fighting side of it and seeing all the competitive side, and I wanted to do it. So, yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's a scary predicament to be in, but it's also an epiphany of sorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a to come to whatever deity that you subscribe to. That moment, right, where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I got to get it together, right?
Yeah.
There's this is not what they said in the whole like what is it, the application process. This is different, you know. So you're in the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does any one thing? Obviously, you had previous athletic endeavors, right? So, does any one thing kind of speak to you more than the other? I mean, I know you were doing privates.
Yeah.
Was that primarily striking?
No, it was a mix. It was like 50-50 between grappling and striking. I think I definitely like naturally take to grappling a lot easier, and especially like from the figure skating, I'm really flexible. So
Mm-hmm.
I like started putting people in rubber guard before I knew what it was, like just naturally. So um, like grappling is easier for me to pick up on, but I actually think I'm gonna end up liking striking more. I like it's
Ah.
like it's more challenging to me in a different way. So I'm kind of that's what I've been focusing on a lot lately, and I don't know, man. I'm kind of leaning towards striking. So, but I suck more at striking. So,
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a natural. That's almost like fight or flight, where you realize like where you're deficient in, and you
hmm
go, okay, maybe I should do this. And that's the thing. The that's essentially the game of MMA, right? Somebody comes off with like an Alexei Olenek, right? Has these weird submissions and whatever, and then everybody's doing or trying to do submissions, and then obviously it happened like in iterations before it, but Poirier finishes Connor with calf kicks, and everybody's trading calf kicks. I mean, I remember like when Eddie Bravo's combat jiu-jitsu, the first one happened and whatever, and every jiu-jitsu, even like gi places, were like, okay,
gotta jump on that.
yeah, it's crazy. So it goes in waves, right? And that's the thing, like um, to be as versatile, as dexterous as possible, because it goes in waves. There's a striking kind of like thing that happens, and then a grappling thing that happens in the world of MMA, where people are just doing that, and it basically it is in the atmosphere, in the head, the space. It occupies the space between the two ears of your coaches. When they see something happen on Saturday night, you come in Sunday or Monday morning, like, okay, this is what we're doing, because we're human.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't know. I love all the training. My coach, he can't even get me out of the gym. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna put a sleeping bag in the corner over there, and but no, I absolutely love all of it. So, and I've noticed too, it's like it's so weird, some of the stuff from figure skating that transfers over because they're such different sports, but like all of the rotational power when it
Mhm.
comes to like hooks and things like that,
Yeah.
that helps. Like just balance, if you can balance on knife blades on ice, being able to just kind of keep your balance on the floor is a little bit easier some days. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. You know, and it's funny because like upper belts in most schools won't roll with white belts because they say like, "Oh, you guys are babies," and it's not like like a diminutive thing, but it's just like we are wild and flailing, just whatever, and we will injure ourselves or them that way just because we don't know our body. But you, as somebody that competed in figure skating, where you had to have absolute control of your body, same thing with the CrossFit, you know, and that's an advantage.
Yeah, it comes in handy. I think when I started, I was still a little spazzy though.
Oh, I'm still,
I think
I'm,
everybody is, isn't everybody kind of a spaz when they start out?
yeah,
So,
I think so. I think so. That's it. Now, were you watching fights as well? Is
I mean, I'd watched some fights like over the years. My dad was really into watching the UFC and that kind of stuff, and he had a wrestling background, so
oh
yeah, I've always kind of watched it a little bit, but even now, like I don't stay on top of things probably as much as I should as far as watching the fights and things like that. So I do love watching them, but there are like certain fighters that I tend to follow, and then I kind of just. But I
now,
don't have time. That's the problem. I want to watch these fights, but I'm always going, so it's hard
yeah.
to stay on social media and stay on the news and keep watching stuff because I'm just always running or sleeping.
I'm just saying, yeah. Which I mean, that had to be a cool deal for your dad to be a wrestler, and then like, oh, my daughter is taking it up. This could be
Hmm.
cool. Now, it might
Yeah.
have like threw your mom over in a loop, but your dad could. I mean, he had to be proud.
Oh yeah. No, he has said he's super proud of that. So I don't think he's very surprised, but and you know, I didn't have any like family members pushing me into learning MMA, and that's something that I see like a lot, especially with women. Is if they get into it, it's normally like a boyfriend or a dad or or some other male friend that's already doing it. So
Hmm.
none of them really pushed me into it at all. Some of them are still getting kind of used to it, but my dad is definitely proud and happy I'm doing it. So.
Now, I mean, I guess it, not having that pressure of having somebody to almost like you're basically defining your role. Like if you had, went the one day and left, right? There's no pressure. Like it's essentially your love, your aspiration for this that drives you day in and day out when things get rough and everything like that. But did it make the transition a little bit easier that you didn't have that added weight of pressure?
Um, I don't know. I actually think it was actually a hard transition. And that's mainly because I actually had the opposite stance where my family is super, super conservative Christian. So I grew up in a very conservative household, and I actually got a lot of pushback when I started going to MMA classes, and then especially when I said I wanted to start fighting. So my family's mainly come around now, and my dad was never one of those naysayers, but no, I actually had a lot of, it was actually really hard. There were a couple days in class where I was just like, flat out just like, why am I here? My family doesn't like this. So I've actually had to really kind of go against the grain a little bit to pursue this. But they're coming around. But initially they were a little freaked out and wanted to know why I'd want to get into a ring and fight with people. So it's just a little crazy to them. But yeah. So
Yeah, but they didn't question all of the other things that you're
no,
doing.
no, no.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah.
And not that those are bad, but like it's just like I mean, if they knew the story about the guy throwing the punch or the over, kind of like
Hmm.
Undertakers. Like I don't mean like the actual Undertaker. I'm talking about like the WWE,
Yeah.
Hall of Fame dude, like just standing up and like it gets
It's
weird.
legitimate. Yeah, you can't put
Yeah.
restraints on them. They'll just rip it off like tissue. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it can
But
get kind of crazy.
but I mean, did they know those stories about that part of
Yeah,
your
they
career?
they were fully supported from like a self-defense standpoint, but they
Okay.
they did not want to see me actually in a ring fighting. So, they don't appreciate it from a competitive standpoint. One of my sisters and my dad are very supportive, but the rest of them are still kind of on the fence about it. So,
It happens,
yeah.
I think what is it, Amy Grant? She had the it takes a little time sometimes to
Hmm.
turn the Titanic back around, and we know what happened there. So
Yeah.
sometimes it takes some time. It takes some time. Now, In terms of like competition, right? Do you take your first fight first, or do you do a grappling competition?
So I started, I think it was August or September that I started going to like jujitsu classes.
Hmm.
I actually signed up for my first competition that was November 11th, I want to say.
Okay.
And I just went in. I was like, well, we'll see what happens. Went in, signed up for gi and no gi. I remember I got on the mats and it started with gi, so I was already uncomfortable because I hate gi.
Hmm.
I lost my first two matches and I got a little bit mad at myself and I was like, Dani, you're gonna get your crap together. And I actually ended up winning all my matches after that point and actually won both the no gi and gi. So, and only one of my like matches that I won was by points. All the rest were by submission. So that was awesome. I was able to my coach was able to turn me around a little bit mentally, and I just got in a good headspace, and I was ready to put in some work. So it was a pretty awesome first competition, and I met a ton of cool people too. I think that was something else. Like it's a family. It was crazy how many people were coming up and just congratulating you, giving you tips. Just it's a really cool community to be a part of. So it was an
Yeah.
awesome experience.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing about, I guess it gets overused, right? Where, it's a family. You have your gym family. But it really is that because, like, if you're struggling, right? And, on the mats in life or whatever, somebody will literally choke you out. Like, oh, cool, this is how you do it, and then you go
Yeah.
out. It's almost like a little kid, like, oh, you get punched in the face and whatever on kindergarten, whatever. But usually, you run to go tell the teacher or whatever. You don't go around to the other kid and go like, oh, bah, whatever. But that's
Yeah.
kind of jujitsu. It's like it, if you're deficient in something and somebody is efficient in it, well, guess what? They'll do the thing and then go like here, or even catch and release. Like you're in trouble. Like this person is built like a gorilla. Like it's just and you're a kitten in their hands, and they're just like they don't sink in the choke. They didn't pull back that submission. And it's fun because it's a community, and that community in that kind of respect of like we're only as strong as our weakest member of the family. Well, if everyone is strong, it's that, and
Hmm.
that's the
Oh
community in
yeah.
it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what's just incredible is all of the amazing fighters and grapplers that are out there that are willing to roll with, lesser skill sets and teach them and stuff. And you know what? I don't know. The family runs the same way. You got big brothers and big sisters that watch out for you, and yeah, it's an amazing community. And I think it depends on what gym you're into. I think that can play a big difference. And we have a very small, tight knit group that we get to train with. And most of the time I'm getting my butt kicked, but that's actually like how I got my name. I'm normally the reason why I'm Dani the Girl Gregoire. Um, I'm really the only girl there who trains MMA. We've got two other girls that'll show up occasionally to like jujitsu. They don't ever come to the striking classes. And I was rolling with one of the guys one day, and one of the coaches came over, and he didn't know my name or anything, and he was yelling out instructions. And he's like, "No, no, not you, the girl, the girl." And so everybody just started calling me the girl because they didn't know my name, and I was just the only girl. So it kind of stuck. But
I mean, that's it. I mean, I Woods, like, nobody calls me by my first name. They call me by my last name. That's it. Like if somebody's like Adam, like, oh, this person is
that's me.
stranger. Yeah, right. It's stranger danger. But that was because like I was in ROTC in high school, and that's just what you do, right? And first name and then last and whatever. But yours, you were the only one. You were the only girl, the girl, right?
Just
And
the girl.
so, I mean, being the only girl, I mean, did that empower you? Because, and rightfully so, there are some that are just like, oh, wait, I'm the only girl. This could get weird.
Hmm.
Like, was that, did you feel a bit of empowerment, the fact that you were the only girl at the time?
Um, Maybe a little bit. I think it helped that I was on the fire department because I'm really used to being the only girl. So I was okay with that. I felt comfortable with it. I kind of, I'm excited to see more women come into the gym though, because it's such an awesome thing that I think a lot of women are missing out on. And they're not necessarily, it's hard to be that first girl. It's hard to, I mean, I experienced a little bit too. It's hard to go into that class and like just look around and, like the biggest thing that I had to do was I kept like apologizing to these guys for having to roll with me. That was kind of like a weird habit I got into because I felt bad, like, oh, maybe I'm weaker or I'm 30 pounds lighter or something like
Yeah.
that. So I felt like I was taking away from their training experience by them rolling with me. And that was like a mindset that I had to shift because, they were all amazing. And, I realized quickly they can learn stuff from me. I can learn stuff from them. And it doesn't necessarily matter what your size is or your strength level. So, but I wasn't scared to just go in there and just go after it. So
Yeah, yeah, that's me too. Like I don't have a kill switch. Like because I feel bad. Like I feel an empathy. And that's I know this is what we're supposed to do or whatever. I think the one like almost like animalistic like situation that I had, I remember so I trained at a school and this happens with me where like I'll train like 6 months, like whatever, like 4 to 7 times a week and everything like that. And then like 2 years I'll fall off and then go back and do the intense, 2 months. I mean 6 months, right? But there were so at the latest school that I was at, the person was supposed to get their blue belt, right? The coach whispers in my ear and it's like, Woods, hey, if you tap him out, you get your blue belt too. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But then I almost felt like Dan Severn. Not that I would ever be compared to Dan the Beast Severn or whatever, but like what purported that fight with him and Hoist Gracie, he looks over at Elio and is just like, I can't kill this dude in front of his father, but I did look over at the benches and like the dude's girlfriend and parents were there, which was a proud moment, and I just like foot off the gas, like I can't do that,
that was the right call for
yeah.
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
still a forever white belt apparently though. It'd be
It's
cool.
not about the belts though. It really isn't. I don't know. I know some pretty awesome people that can go out there and crush some black belts and they aren't ranked very high. So I don't know. I think that's one of the reasons why I like no-gi too, is because you don't get to have that immediate judgment of looking at what color belt they're wearing. Everybody's walking around in rash guards. You don't know if that scrawny kid is a purple belt or you get to kind of judge people by what they're actually doing versus what they've been given. So
Yeah, see, the only reason why I want my belt, I'm not a traditional martial arts fan or anything like that. Purple belt at Naga, you can compete for an actual prize belt, right?
see, yeah.
So that's why I want. I don't know what happens after purple. If I never get a black belt, that's cool. I want to compete at Naga and I want to win a Naga title. That's it. So I can be like Bret Hart and all of the wrestlers that I watched growing up. That was way more influence. It's like most people are like, oh, I love like Bruce Lee movies. And I was like that. I thought they were cool, but they didn't have like. Anytime I heard like the commentators go like, "Oh, this person's a catch can wrestler," I was like, "Oh, that's what I like. That's what I like."
Right there.
Yeah, yeah. Just saying.
Well, that's a pretty legitimate reason to want a belt. That's understandable.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Now, DJ Yannick's basically in the UK. Shout out to DJ Yannick's. He says, "Greetings from the UK. I have a question for you, Danny. I'm British and I love a good cup of tea, but not as much as I'm loving your hair. My question is, how do you keep it looking so nice?"
This is the one day that it's looking nice, actually, because normally I have it in this. I wear this braid that I learned from figure skating, and I just wear that all the time because it keeps my hair back to my face. So I don't know. I don't know. It's just happy to be down, maybe. But yeah, no, it's normally in a braid, and I look about 12, so which is an improvement from looking 14. I just have a baby face, so.
Hey, you know what? You gotta go with what works. I'm just saying. Which, yeah. Oh, I get a question. This is fun. Also a question for According to Woods. I'm British and I love a slice of cake to go with my cup of tea, but not as much as I'm loving your shirt. Yeah, thank you, sir. My question is, I'm a third Dan black belt. Holy crap! Kudos to you, sensei, because I'm not. I'm not. I'm a white belt in jujitsu. Jeez, shout out to you. You know, and what color are my socks? I'm actually going barefoot right now. I'm ready for jujitsu. Like I'm wearing no socks. There we go. That's bold. I'm just saying. Now, what I want to know, Danny, I mean, do you have like an immediate goal? Obviously, 2020 was like absolutely nuts, right? It was bonkers in many negative connotations, you know. But do you have a goal? Like, you know, do you want to fight? Do you want to grapple? And I mean, what's the situation looking like in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, definitely have some big goals. Some of them I'm kind of keeping to myself, but the biggest goal is just this year I want to have my first fight between September and October. So I need kind of like the biggest thing right now is I need to cut weight. I want to make 135 and then eventually I want to end up making 125.
Oh,
So
dang.
that's kind of a big focus. Just kind of improving my striking game because my grappling's decent for where I'm at right now as far as I haven't been doing this for very long. But yeah, no, I wanna get my first fight this year. I already have a couple of grappling competitions under my belt, and then just continue once I'm sitting right around where I want to be weight wise. Just try to take as many fights as I can to get that experience, and yeah, keep going. So
I like it. I like it. Oh, he says my question didn't finish. I'm sorry. Now go ahead and ask it. We'll definitely oblige. No. So in how is the scene there on the East Coast? Like, are gyms opening up? I know here in California, you know, we're opening up tomorrow. The gyms are opening up to like 15% capacity, but it's been like it almost seems like MMA and jiu-jitsu gyms are almost like speakeasies during prohibition. Like it's just like, hey, I
remember a
think
little
there's something going
bit.
on, or there's you know secret groups on social media and whatever. But like it's that. So what is the state of where you're in?
We're fully open and functioning. So,
Okay.
yeah, we never really slowed down. I think there was a little bit of a concern when we had the curfew place because sometimes classes can run a little bit late, but no, we're up and running. And then just a couple of the different promotions that they have going on, they're back up and running fights like Ohio Combat League. They've been putting on a couple fights. With the curfew lifted now, they're able to go later. So yeah, no, we're seeing fights, we're seeing gyms open, people training. So it feels like things are slowly rolling back to normal, hopefully. So
There you go. Yeah. I mean, geez, it's funny because I think March 12th, right, was the so I was on my way to a regional MMA show. Lights Out. Sean Merriman of the NFL. He partnered with a local promotion here in Southern California that was making like great headway. Sent a lot of people to the UFC and Bellator. Well, I was on the way to the weigh-ins for that, right? And the venue, the casino, was like literally 20 minutes down the same highway, you know, from my house. And I got in the car. There was still a fight happening, right? And then I got there and I go upstairs where all the fights happen and whatever. And for weigh-ins, you know, usually you see the cage, you see, you know, people setting up seats and everything like that. And like none of that was happening. And I was like, and I go to their social media. I'm like, oh, California State pretty much has, and at that point, I think it was like suspended everything till May. And it was like a month to month thing. And then now it's just like, there's a lot of amateur fighters here that have out of necessity to keep their skills sharp going to pro because the pros are the only places where they can get fights and out of state.
yeah, that's kind of a scary thing though to see all these people moving up to pro before they're necessarily ready and stuff. This whole pandemic, even just staying on track and going to the gym when stuff isn't happening, I think for a lot of people has been pretty hard. So
Yeah,
props to all the fighters who've been training during this whole thing, and keeping their skills sharp and doing what they have to do because it's it's been a crazy year and we really didn't know what was going to happen with everything. So
absolutely. And you know, it's funny because like the you know going into you know what was 2020, looking at January 2020 and whatever, like there were a lot of people like on the cusp of getting the call, right, to the one of the big shows, the Bellators, the UFCs, one championship over in Asia, right? And it seemed like there were a lot of people that if they stayed ready, they were getting short notice fights. Sometimes those were, a week in advance. Maybe there was 3 days in advance, like Vince the Anomaly Cachero. But you got a chance, so it kind of strengthened the resolve of like just being able to stay ready and stay consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. I have mad respect for those people because that's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess what I want to ask, like in terms of downtime, like you don't have
What
much.
downtime?
Yes, I was gonna say like you don't have much, but if you want to, you basically consumed a ungodly amount of caffeine, this week. But what do you do to wind down? Because a lot of the things that you're doing are intense, right? Like even banking, that's intense. You got people's money, their hopes and dreams, what they work for, in your hands. You don't want to, blub that up and what have you. So like all of the intense things that you've done in your life and still continue to do, like do you have any like other pastimes?
I love recurve archery. So when I have time, I'll go outside and shoot my bow. Um, I tend to just wind down by listening to music and doing like mobility work, things like that. If I can, I especially it's really handy since I'm a coach at the figure skating rink. I'm allowed to hop on the ice anytime that it's free. So even if I have like 20 minutes and there's nobody on the ice, I'll just swing by and like skate for 20 minutes and then get off. So that's probably like the most. I really love reading. So there are a couple books that I'm trying to go through right now. I love Talent Code by, I think it's David Coyle. The Dichotomy of Leadership currently I'm going through. So just a lot of different, mainly nonfiction. I don't get time to read a whole lot of fiction, but yeah, I love to read. I think like another random hobby I have, I love history. So when I was 15, I actually started my own business designing custom reproduction clothing from the mid 1860s. So
Whoa.
when I have time, I'll go to a Civil War reenactment and dress up from the 1860s. So yeah, I have a lot of random hobbies.
I mean, that's really cool. And especially, I mean, I mean, technically, East Coast, right? Like, I mean, do you guys consider, yeah. So there's like a whole bastion of like, especially U.S. history that it resides, in the Ohio's, in the
Oh yeah.
Northeast. Yeah, it's, what am I? So Andrew Freelove, who is a fighter out of here and having a fight in a couple weeks. Well, he was a corner person for his teammate Jeff Mallore's fight for CFFC in Philadelphia, which I thought was absolutely fun because like I'm a pro wrestling fan.
Philadelphia is amazing.
So that's the ECW arena. Like that's the barbed wire and like flaming tables and all that stuff. Like that's that happen. And then the commentator for CFFC is CM Punk. So CM Punk basically commentating MMA at the ECW arena. My brain just like ah, right? But it's kind of funny because he is I want to say a bachelor's. Freelove is a bachelor's in history. So
Oh
he was
wow.
like running through Philly. There's the Liberty Bell. There's Benjamin Franklin's gravesite. Like he was just like, yeah, it's cool for like the fight and everything like that. But like I'm geeking out. Like he basically was like, my team hates me. I'm spreading like historical facts like from literally like
No,
almost 300
that's
years
the
ago.
best.
Yeah, those are the best, right? Like,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love people like that. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun because you were talking about like reproductions, and I thought you were gonna go like reading and documents, like and reproduction of documents, because maybe fresh on the brain is that Netflix like mini series whatever about like the murdering Mormons and stuff like that. Oh, it's
I
fun.
don't think I saw it. Maybe I'll have to
Oh,
look that up.
oh, it's fun. It's 3 hours. I mean, I know it's a lot, but
Put it on
and
for
they
Stephen.
yeah, It's fun. It's fun. It's peculiar, and it doesn't go like you think it's gonna go. But it's set in Utah. That's why the Mormon thing there. But it's not really that. Like it's almost a deceiving title, but it's fun. Like yeah, I'm just saying.
I'll have to check it out. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Now, obviously, you kind of have to perform at optimal levels, right? Of everything that you do, everything that you're doing in life, you have to basically like you full throttle everything, right? But in the moments of downtime, like, do you have like cheat meals? Do you like what's the go to? Like after a competition, after practice, like what's the go to? Like if you can like take aim and let fly.
Oh, cheat meal. I can't remember the brand, but there's this gelato that Bueller sells that's like dark chocolate, and it's amazing. So yeah, that's like my go-to cheat meal. That and pizza. I'm a pizza
Pizza.
lover. So
Okay. So let's answer the age-old question: does pineapple belong on pizza? No.
no, no,
Oh, really?
no, definitely not. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. All right. What is your favorite pizza?
My mom makes this homemade like spinach Alfredo
Okay.
chicken pizza with like homemade Alfredo sauce, and it's like to die for. So probably that. Yeah,
That's
I
not
haven't had
bad.
that in a long time, so it's
That's
good.
that's not bad. The best pizza
Bad.
I
Woods. No, I'm just kidding.
no, no. No, actually, you know what?
Speaking on
The
my
best
pizza habits.
I know. Well, the best pizza I ever had was literally out of a drunken stupor. Like my wife and friends and we went out. I think they opened their their marketing business, but we were like, I mean, it was in a place like Pasadena, right? Pasadena, where they have the rose parade and everything like that. But it's very like they call it Old Town because it's very kind of vintagey, right? And so their office was around there, and then all of like the nightlife and everything was like literally right under them. So like we were drinking in the office, and then what ended up happening was like okay, we need to get something to eat. And there was a place, a bar that was like, create your own pizza. Like, I was just like, oh, garlic, that sounds great. Shrimp, that's amazing. Steak, whatever. And they obliged. They put it on. I mean, they charged me like a whole, like, almost, that was also probably the most expensive pizza, right? But like, maybe I'm remembering it wrong or whatever. But I mean, it helped me sober up. But it was the most incredible thing ever, ever. And
Did you
again,
take
you
any
just,
photos of it? Do you have like evidence of this pizza? It sounds interesting.
I know. No, I don't. But you're also talking to a guy who like, I posted a picture on the Instagram because like I wanted a sandwich, but I didn't want the carbs. So I took like some nori, like sushi nori, seaweed, and I put hummus, and then I threw a couple pieces of turkey on it, and I was like, here we go. So I've got really strange.
Hummus is good though. Hummus is awesome.
Yeah, what I mean, if you think about like Jiro Dreams of Sushi, where this like dude in Japan has spent decades perfecting the perfect, sushi approach and whatever, and then here's this, and I wasn't even drunk. And this was like 11 o'clock in the morning. I was just like, I want a
Slap some
sandwich.
hummus on there.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, Japan, Middle East, and like American turkey slices. Like that's what we did, and whatever. Yeah, it didn't taste great. It tasted like something, but it was what I wanted essentially at that moment.
Low carb at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I would even say like might even go like keto. That was keto as well. So just saying. Now, Daddy, obviously, we talked about the goals, right? So I mean, it just in terms of like the immediate, like you said you maybe before the end of the year to get one in.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. I'm gonna
Okay.
make that one happen. So
Okay.
I need a reason to cut weight too. Like I need I need that motivation of I have this deadline in my head of when I need to reach that. So yeah, no, I think if I do anything, I'm doing it because I want it to be as good as I can possibly be. And I'm a little bit old. I'm 22. I'm not ancient, but I'm old for the goals that I want to achieve in MMA. So I kind of have a ticking clock in my head, and that's probably why I'm running like a million miles a minute, because I want to peak at a certain point, and I want it to be before I turn 30. So I just with the goals that I have that are probably a little out there. It's I really want to get on the ball. I'm seeing a lot of people that are fighting that are 22 and they already have 10 plus fights under their belt, or they're already turning pro. And so I need to get on the ball, and I need to kind of move as quickly as I can right now. And I feel like I'm picking things up quickly, so I feel like comfortable actually stepping into a ring. I've been sparring with only guys right now, but but I'm getting comfortable with that. So I think I'm going to be ready. I really do. But I got some work I need to do, so just getting it done every day.
I
So
like it. I like it. And my sketchy artist 99 over on YouTube says, "I'll tell you, you want to eat healthy? Eat in Japan. Wish Japan is like close to us. If you don't live in Japan, like you're not getting to Japan right now. That's just like it's not happening. But yes, I agree. I agree. Some of the best udon and everything. That's in Japan, 100%. You know. Now, I like it because you set these goals, and one of my favorite sayings is, you shoot for the moon. Even if you fall short, you land amongst the stars. And sometimes you will create more headway towards a bigger, lofty goal than setting it kind of short and getting that, and then kind of feeling like, oh no, like I was just building to this kind of short goal and everything like that. And that's when you kind of fell off. That's when the training stops. That's when the motivation stops. So, it's good that you have those lofty goals.
yeah, you got to have them. And I think like the other thing I've kind of had to call myself on too is, if you're looking at like your training and your diet and all of that stuff, you need to really make sure you're comparing yourself to people who are also shooting for those same goals. Sometimes, the people in your gym, or just, other people that you might look up to in the MMA field, they might have different goals than you. They might not have the same timeline as you. So just like looking out at other fighters that I see that I aspire to be like, and trying to follow them and learn from them and compare myself to them. You got to be honest with yourself, and call yourself out on things when you could be working harder, and cleaning things up. And so that's been something I've just been really trying to do, is really take accountability for every minute I have and everything I'm doing. So
I love that. That's amazing. And my sketchy artist says Les Brown. Yes, I might have quoted a Les Brown quote. So 10 points for you. But yeah, I never claimed it was my own. I was just like, that's one of my favorites. I can't remember where it came from, but I remember my dad also being highly influenced by Les Brown. So yeah,
makes sense.
I'm just saying, yeah. Now, I mean, you did mention like the weight cutting and everything like that. Had you had to experience weight cutting? I mean, not in figure skating, right? Not in CrossFit, right? This is a kind of a
Yeah.
whole new world, right?
In some ways. So in CrossFit, obviously, there's no weight cutting. Figure skating was just all about maintaining a super low body fat percentage. So I just stayed super, super lean for long periods of time. But never had to cut for a specific competition or anything like that. I think the hardest thing was just, taking that break from doing CrossFit and exercising as much as I was, to just, full stop doing nothing, not allowed to exercise or do anything for a full year. That just was hard. If you're used to eating a certain way because you're working out so much, and then you don't really change that, you're going to get into trouble. And so what ended up happening was I just put on some extra weight. And since I've started MMA, I've lost like almost 15 pounds, but I just have a little further that I want to go. So, yeah, I'm just getting used to it. But I also want to try to avoid dramatic weight cuts. I know from the past, I know like figure skating and CrossFit, I know where my body's weight sits, for different physical fitness types. And so I have an idea of where I can healthily stay, and then just cut maybe about 10 pounds or less for a fight. So I don't want to do this cut 20 pounds thing. I think from a health standpoint, that's really just not good on your system, especially as a female and stuff like that. So that's the goal.
Yeah, I've to me, what I've kind of summarized the whole weight cutting deal, it was the quest for, MMA to be legal in a lot of states where it wasn't. Just as recently as like the early 2000s, and in the case with New York, I mean, that was it wasn't until there's a whole like story there. Obviously, the unions of New York and UFC's parent company, the Fertitta brothers, they have the largest non-union conglomerate of hotels and whatever. And it wasn't until the one got sold to WME did we have basically MMA in the New York State, right? So, but I just think that weight cutting, it almost should never be. Like, it's something that was borrowed from, like, again, the quest for legitimacy, right? So they borrowed from what the commissions knew, right? From boxing,
Wrestling.
from wrestling, right? And that it's just stayed, right? It's almost like the gi. Like, you don't, to be an MMA fighter, you don't have to be in the gi, right? Or to be a grappler, you don't even have to train jujitsu. There's other grappling sports, right? But I just think it's like an antiquated deal, especially when, yeah, again, you're billing the fight, right? It's a blah 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 pound matchup. It's a 135-pound fight, right? When nobody enters the cage for said fight at that weight. So why are we cutting? Why?
I actually think fights would be more interesting if we weren't, because I think especially like a lot of these females, they're not sitting at 115, 125. And it's kind of the same thing when you look at the male side, how much people love heavyweights. If these women were able to fight at their actual weights, yeah, I think they'd have a lot more power. I think you'd see a lot more interesting fights in a lot of ways. If there was like a 145, 155, You
No,
see like Chris Cyborg's weight cut, that was pretty traumatizing.
oh, that was
Seeing that.
that was horrific,
Yeah.
horrific. And then I think Joe Rogan was talking to Derek Lewis on his podcast, and like, oh man, like, why is even Rogan is like, why is 265 like the cutoff for heavyweight? You should be as big as you want to be. And theoretically speaking, I love you know the ideology of like a weight class happening every 10 pounds, because again, from 185 to 205, that's huge, right? Right. And 205 to 265, that's another leap, right? And again, nobody's actually entering the cage or the ring at that weight once the bell sounds. So why, like, it's so weird to me.
Well, and then part of the competition it's more almost sometimes about who's the best weight cutter, whose body allows them to shed the water weight. And yeah.
Yeah, and especially, the weight cuts are absolutely, can be horrible and a horrible experience. And if you've been around anybody that's been doing one, not fun, right? But also the rehydration that you have to get back up. You've been like literally, draining the water out of your body and all of this jazz, for, anywhere from 6 to 1 week out. And now you just put everything back on. Like, and again, if we're looking at the totality of one's career, right? If because of this thing happening, and and you're susceptible to more shots, right? Then who really is a better fighter, right? Because again, this person that might have had a chin, right? Because they went through a horrendous weight cut, now they don't have a chin. Did you fight them? You got to have in like the back of your mind, in your heart of hearts, you didn't fight the most optimal version of them. So are you really the victor? Are you really the champion?
Or are you just better on that day? Yeah.
100%, 100%. So yeah, it's a strange one. I think what one over in Asia, what they're doing, with the hydration tests, and that's what California started to institute right before, the COVID shutdowns. They January 2020, that was one of the things, and the cognitive tests as well. They were rolling that out, because again, just because somebody's there doesn't mean their cognitive ability is there too, which again can happen when horrendous things happen to your body. You're putting your body through trauma, and then to enter a cage or a ring for more trauma doesn't bode well.
Gotta be a special type of crazy to love it.
I know. I'm just
to want
saying.
to do it.
I
Yeah.
know, I know.
Yeah.
And shout out to Nate Wren of Podium Sports. He says, "Thank you for what you've done in my life by fast acting EMTs. One or more occasions. I'm going to have to follow your MMA career," says Nate Wren.
Oh,
So
thanks, Nate. Appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah, that guy. Talk about special type of crazy. He's a writer. He's a writer, right? Combat sports writer. And then I think it was like earlier this year, he took a boxing fight in Mexico, and then is on the back end of two, I guess, bull riding kind of endeavors. Like,
Wow.
just saying, man.
Sounds
Just
like a
saying.
badass. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, that's why I'm the guy who interviews badasses, like you guys.
No,
Like,
no,
I
no.
don't. Yeah, I don't have a badass bone in my body.
I don't believe that. I don't
Ah,
believe it.
eh. Like I said, I like watching Sakuraba do the shit, and then I'm like,
Wear the T-shirt.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. Maybe I'm a poser. I don't
No,
know.
you're not. You're
Ah,
not.
okay, I'll believe you. I'll believe you. Now, obviously, Danny, there have been a lot of people that have basically shepherded your career, right? Not just your career, but your life, right? So, as the kids say these days, let's get some shout outs out of the way.
I think the biggest one would probably have to be my dad. Just I was raised in a house with four. I have three sisters, so four girls, and we weren't raised to be super girly girls. We were always wrestling around and doing stuff. And my dad really instilled in us as kids that if you want to do something, if you're willing to work your butt off for it, you can achieve it. And that's kind of cliche, but we've all been gifted that, and I appreciate the mindset that he instilled. Just like my coach, Cody Stevens, he's amazing. If I was going to say there was like any one fighter that really inspired me, it would be him. He was in Thailand for a couple years over at Tiger Muay Thai. He won their scholarship, so he was there training. He ended up actually losing his eye due to fighting. And just to see like his comeback from all of that and the positivity that he instills every day with all of his athletes, and just he really leads by example when it comes to work ethic. I mean, I'll come into the gym at weird hours and he's always working. He's always working, so it's really inspiring. And it shows you how lazy you are when you see what other people are pushing through and growing through. So everybody at the gym, and then just really, Cody Stevens is building an amazing thing in Mansfield. So yeah.
I think that's tremendous, and I mean, it's so horrendous that I mean, a situation like that can happen. I mean, we just saw last night, and like the Bilal Muhammad Leon Edwards fight. Like, if you look up the close ones, I think
See it.
Dana, yeah, I mean, he literally dug into his eyelid.
Yeah.
That, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
that's
if they actually had gloves that were comfortable to have your fist closed and they had been actually tested and had impact resistant foam in them, maybe we wouldn't see that happen so often. Sorry, I could get
that,
on a rant about that. Did
no,
you watch the Joe
no,
Rogan podcast where they're showing the ball dropping on the different foams and how the
yeah,
different foam is not impact resistant?
yeah,
When
yeah.
it comes to like concussions and stuff like that and just eye pokes, I don't understand it.
Well, so Bellator. I mean, if you're comparing companies, right? Like Bellator has better gloves. That is, I think this is pretty much there, right? And now, obviously, I think it's Onyx, right, where Trevor Whitman and Justin Gaethje's company, right, and they have like a battle tested kind of way about doing it. Trevor Whitman and like literally sews these things together himself, right? Of trial and error, research and development that they do right there in the gym, right? Now, all they want is for Dana and the UFC. Like Dana has said, like, oh yeah, we love the gloves. We love the gloves. Absolutely love the gloves.
But they want
But
to
they
buy
wanted
it.
to buy it outright. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's just like, no, because then it becomes because yeah, the UFC's acquiring of Pride that went so well, right? And they're even the UFC Fight Pass that's still a value at $9.99, right? I mean, right? I'm just saying, just
Yeah.
just
Well,
saying.
they just want to own it all.
Yeah,
If it's something that they're going to show, they want to own it. But I'm hoping in the next couple years they do fix that, because that's just, especially all the needless concussions and things that are happening that don't
Yeah.
need to happen.
Yeah,
So,
and when Dana himself was like, "This is not a career. This is an opportunity," right? Well, he can say that one, and then on one hand, we'll go like, "Oh, if you don't do what you say you're gonna do, you're basically blackballed from the UFC, right? Ever competing? I mean, who's the guy at Fight Island that from Morocco? Which is even weird. He kind of scaled the cup, like the hotel wall to
oh
give.
yeah, that
Yeah,
was crazy.
yeah. But I mean, he's back in, but even still, it's just like it's an opportunity, but then like when you flub it up, then you get blackballed. So it's like, and won't pay $1 million payouts, but will put $1 million on what you deem as a fake fight. So
Yep.
it gets weird. Just
Yeah.
gets weird.
Yeah. I mean, everything, you kind of hit a point in your life where you kind of have to accept that everything in your life is not always as it seems. And, politics are always going to come into play whether you like it or not. So you have to decide whether you want to be consumed by that, or whether or not you want to just love the sport for what it is and accept everything, like the good, bad, and ugly, because it's how it is, but you can also call out things that you want to see improved. So
Yeah, that's why I say, everyone, do and start podcasts. Everyone, just do it, because that's your way to kind of connect with people just beyond whatever. Curtis Blades, he found that out the hard way, right? Where it was like, when the whole Brock Lesnar, Daniel Cormier, right after DC knocked out Stipe, and Curtis Blades was sitting there like, oh, I'm a real martial artist and everything, and Dana White straight out said, okay, cool, be a straight martial artist, because all you're gonna do in about 5 years is teaching judo classes at your local strip mall. So good luck with that, And what happens, right? He gets like mollywopped by one of the most like one-dimensional strikers. And this is not a dig on Derek Lewis. Amazing, right? But again, if you're playing MMA math, Curtis Blades' record and judo prowess should have toppled Derek Lewis. And again, this is poetic justice. Shooting in for a shot errantly, and he gets eaten up, and that's it. So it doesn't matter about your martial arts. I mean, it kind of doesn't, right?
it's a lot mental too.
Yeah.
It's look at some of the. I mean, even like Michael Bisping, he should have never really made it. There are so many reasons why he should not. Yeah, why he shouldn't be who he is, and yeah, it's. I don't know. I feel like there's a certain part of fighting where it does kind of come. I mean, you can talk about the technique and you can talk about all that till you're blue in the face, but you got to actually be a fighter. You have to actually be scrappy
Yeah.
to really make it, and to make it interesting for the people watching. So
Oh yeah. Oh, and if you're Cub Swanson, you swear like everybody that is doing these things, they should fight, right? With the paradox is he's married to this gal, Kenda Perez, or Kenda Swanson now, right? And she's never fought in her life. She is actually like a UFC employee, basically doing the same. She's the host of like the Pride countdowns and everything like that. And no respect, but when do you put that tweet out? And I was like, oh, you're in the doghouse right now, bro. Like, good job, sir, because that's your wife. That's income that comes from your house. Like that's how she makes it. And okay, cool, bro. Cool story.
he did
Right
think
on.
that one through. Yeah,
Just saying, it happens. But
it does.
speaking of thinking things through, what people should do is they should follow you on all of your endeavors and see as you march so valiantly towards the cage. Where can they find you on social media?
So right now, actually, all I have is an Instagram, and it is just Dani the Girl Gregoire. Sounds like Gregory, but it is it is Gregoire. So yeah, that if you can just follow me on Instagram, I'm trying to keep everybody updated on my journey and progress and all of that, and just I want to foster a welcoming community. So please reach out to me. I love hearing from people, and yeah, we'll just encourage each other as we become badasses. So
Hell yes, I love it. I love it. Again, Donnie, thank you again for doing this. This was absolutely fun, and first of many, I say.
I hope so. I hope so. This has been awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Now, if you guys are, and thank you guys, right, for watching us here at According to the Woods. You guys are the real MVPs. But if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And I mean, Dani, you're subscribed, right?
I am.
Yeah. So be a badass like Dani and go ahead and subscribe. But if you don't believe my word for it, if you don't believe Dani's, and I don't know why you wouldn't, well, here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you